Hi,
welcome.
how are you?
Come on in, please.
Hi,
Have a
Sam.
seat.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Philip.
I'm
Amin.
Amin.
And I'm Jennifer.
Jennifer, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you. Did you find the place all right?
Yeah, it was good. It was kind of conspicuous outside, and you had the big sign, so.
Well, that's good. That's perfect. We want to draw attraction to us because we are new and we are excited to see you, and we're very excited to do this interview.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you
Right
for having
on.
me.
You're welcome.
Do
So,
you guys have any water or coffee maybe?
yes. Give me 1 second here. I have. Let me just give you a coffee here from the coffee maker. Rated our own barista made coffee here. There you are, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so you've probably done a little bit of research on us.
I did, yes.
Now you know that we are Automoto, and here at Automoto, we are a startup business, essentially, that we have community members coming in to our facility. We also have a coffee shop. It's kind of a hybrid all-in-one facility that you'll be responsible for supervising.
Okay.
So did you take a little bit of time to look at the memberships?
I did, yes. There's 3 types of memberships, and
That is correct. So we have 3 different tiers of memberships. As a supervisor, you'll be responsible for knowing the different types of memberships, but we can get to that later on. Tell me about yourself, first of all.
well, the main part about me is that I try to be a role model in my community, so I'm very interested in your establishment where they're trying to get close ties to the community, and I think that jives well with my values. I grew up in not such good neighborhoods, so there are a lot of low-income families, some crime, a lot of drugs. But I found that having a good role model in these communities just lifts the entire community up from poverty. So I try to be that kind of person, and I would love the opportunity just to share my expertise and my ability to kind of champion a good cause with you guys. So that's a little bit about me and how I grew up.
That's perfect. No, that sounds great. Okay. So you have been in a type of position in a work setting like this before, correct?
Yeah, I was a barista at a small coffee shop near my community, so I'm pretty familiar with how to make drinks. But in terms of being like the mechanical role you guys are talking about, I wasn't specifically employed as a mechanic, but I do know some inner workings of how motorcycles work. I own a motorcycle myself. It's a bit in the garage, kind of rusty right now. So, I mean, if I were to start working here, maybe we could tune it up, do an oil change, and I think it's just a great opportunity.
Well, let me give you a little rundown as to how we're going to do this today.
Okay.
I'm going to direct all my questions to you in regards to the supervisor of of more of the mechanic side. But once again, you don't need to for surely have a full mechanic background, but you have to be aware of certain things that happen in an auto shop.
Okay.
Amanander is going to ask you some general questions in regards to regular interview questions, and then Philip is going to maybe focus more on the barista questions. Okay. So, do you mind if we begin?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I don't mind at all, actually.
Okay, perfect. Now, what is your opinion about motorcycle helmet laws, and how would you change them if you had the power to do so?
Well, I mean, being on a motorcycle, I think is one of the most efficient ways to get around, one of the most efficient transportation methods. However, there's a big issue about safety, and I think there's a lot of stigma attached to motorcycle safety as well, or motorcycles in general. They find it dangerous, rebellious, and there's some appeal to having those things, but first and foremost, I think every motorcycle owner needs to know about the safety of motorcycles, and motorcycle helmets is the first priority. You always need a motorcycle helmet, and if I could change the law, I mean, it's just, even if you're on a motorcycle, as with the passengers, pretty much every aspect of it, you do need, it's mandatory to be on a helmet. Even if you're on it without driving it, I feel like that's even a violation of motorcycle helmet laws anyway. People might think that's stupid, but I feel like if we get the culture across, that it's absolutely essential, not just the motorcycle and the motorcycle helmet, you can't have one with the other. They need to be quintessential parts of each other, and it can't be separated. And if we get that across, I think we can get this stigma over this unsafe motorcycle kind of atmosphere that society has right now.
So what I'm getting from you is that you would be willing to be an ethical advocate of motorcycle safety laws if you were employed with our company?
Oh yeah, I would champion that for sure, and that's something I can get really behind.
Yes, absolutely. Now this is kind of a two-part. I have another question for you in regards to say that you're working and you witness somebody cutting corners to get the job done faster. What would you do?
Well, I mean, cutting corners just, especially in a workplace like this, there's just such a huge risk into doing that. And I feel like we need to follow all the policies and all the procedures. I mean, there are certain things that I feel like I would be lenient on, but in terms, if it comes to like mopping the floors or in terms of certain things in the workshop aspect of it, especially, I feel like we need to be stringent. We got to be very strict on these kind of things, because the first issue is safety. Again, if you have wet floors, if you have people doing inappropriate things on their motorcycles, it just represents a hazard to themselves, a hazard to other people. We just can't have that at all in any establishment, I feel. And coming from a motorcycle background, when I have a motorcycle, I feel like, especially role modeling for people and for kids, you need to stress the importance of safety. Yes, it looks cool, you want to look dangerous and everything, but first and foremost, I always stress this above all else, that you need to be safe. And I think that's something cutting corners just doesn't do.
Because as you know, we're starting up and we want to instill these nice, strong organizational cultures and these strong safety ties. And from what you're saying there, it does appear that you're aware that safety is a big concern with automotive. And in regards to cutting corners, we would rather implement it, do the job right, versus
the liability on you guys if you
Absolutely.
don't do the procedures, it's just huge, right?
Absolutely. We're working with the community.
I feel like if I join your team, I have to know it inside and out, and I would be glad in doing so.
That's right. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here. Take me through the steps that you would use to turn on a 1986 Yamaha Radian that has not been running for more than a week.
Oh, 1986 Yamaha Radian. Those brings me back today. It's actually a similar model to the one I have, right? 1984
Nice
Toyota
bike.
Tomahawk.
Mm.
So if it hasn't been running for a while, I think the main problem is in the engine. And with the 1986 Radeon, it's pretty much because of the factory defect that that happened in Japan. It's not all the Yamaha models, but you do need to check if that's the case and therefore send it back to Japan. I mean, I don't know what the warranty's probably. So probably a substitute, 1990 Yamaha would fit right in. It'd probably need a little bit of adjustments in the other sections, like the cylinder heat speed molecules.
Perfect.
Module, sorry.
Perfect. No, yeah, because as you're aware, you'll be monitoring individuals who will be constantly working on bikes anywhere from 1960 and on. So we want to make sure that you're aware of the different types of, the different ways that the engines work and how they put together. So that's perfect. Do you feel that if somebody was working on a bike and they came up to you and asked you some questions in regards to that, would you feel comfortable assisting them one-on-one?
I would feel comfortable. It just depends on the model. There are certain models that have pretty limited knowledge on. I do know most models and I do know how they work, and mostly from the same kind of auto manufacturer. They go pretty similar, but I feel like maybe if I had a manual, I'd feel much more comfortable. And just being able to find the information that I need would be much better than just reciting it off the top of my head. Because I feel like if you do give advice and it comes from kind of a faulty source, it might lead to problems. So I would feel comfortable in assisting, but I would feel more comfortable if there were some sort of reference guide that I could go back to.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Because you will be supervising the individuals, will be working it on themselves. But like I said, if somebody does come to you for any guidance, it's best that you go to a policy or procedure manual. You're absolutely right. Very good. Okay, I've got two more questions for you before we go on to Amanender. This is a situational question for you. You're driving from Oshawa to Orillia. How would you transport a goat on a motorcycle from one city to the other?
Sorry, what?
I know, it sounds pretty crazy, but we want to see how you think outside the box.
Okay.
All right, you're driving from Oshawa to Orillia. How would you transport a goat on a motorcycle from one city to the other?
So we're talking about like Moroccan goats and not like.
Oh, definitely, like the smaller Moroccan goats.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, number one, it's got to be fastened securely, and I feel like with any like living thing that's in your bag, it's got to be comfortable. It can't agitate you while you're driving because at first it's safety first, especially if it's something as temperamental as a Moroccan goat. So I mean, you gotta fasten it clearly. Make sure it's comfortable. Bring some food that you might distract it with. Have it in a position where it doesn't hinder your driving because I think that's incredibly important when you are riding a motorcycle. And I mean, a goat is a pretty abstract thing, but I feel like you can do the same with your passengers. If you have somebody that's not going to sit still, that's going to be moving around, that's not really fit snug on a motorcycle, then that presents problems as well. So the main thing is that you both are in compliance, like the goat is compliant, that you're driving and you're in the back seat, so I'm responsible for both of your lives. So if you do anything to hinder that, you're also endangering your life. I'm sure the goat won't understand that, but just make sure it's comfortable, Make sure you understand it, make sure that it's not gonna bother you the whole ride there. And I feel like, yeah, I can transport your goat for you.
At the end of the day, you're looking for safety. That's what I get
Yeah,
from that.
for
on
sure.
both parts too.
I think we're just gonna keep on coming back to the safety aspect because it's such a big thing for me.
Perfect. Okay. My next question is, okay, so as you know, like we were talking about, we have many different memberships. We have a lot going on. We're a new startup company, and we are going to require some overtime hours at times, okay? So give me an example where you were in charge of a project that demanded overtime hours and how you dealt with that.
Well, working at the casino, there's this rush at the end of the day. Like literally at the end of the day. We close at 6 a.m. So I'm not a stranger to working late hours because I've done it a lot of time. Actually, more of a night person than a morning person. But anyway, the casino closes at 6 a.m. and the last hand happens at 5:45 a.m. Okay, so let's imagine 11 poker tables. If you guys know, it's maybe this size.
Yeah.
Be 10 players on it, and there'd be like 12 tables left, and there'd be about 20 staff. And the thing is, the license, you cannot have players at the table past 6. So pretty much you have last hand at 5:45, and you have about 10 minutes to close all the tables, get all the players out, get all their chips off the table, and be able to close all the tables and sign out all the employees in that 10-minute span. So as a supervisor, as a person that's overseeing this, you have to be organized. You have to be strict. You have to follow procedure. You have to say, listen, I don't care if you lost $500 or $2,000 in some cases. This is the last hand, and the thing is, you can't be aggressive. You can't say get out. You gotta say I'm sorry, but we'll ask all the patrons to leave, and we'll open again 12 o'clock tomorrow, and you can come back then. So you have to be very assertive, but at the same time, you can't be aggressive and hostile. So organization, I think, is key. Mm-hmm. And having cooperative staff members, I feel. I mean, I'm sure when I join your organization, I'm not going to start off as a supervisor, but I understand if the supervisor tells me to do something, that he has an order in mind, he has these things that we need to get done. We can't see the overall picture, I feel, but the supervisor does. So you just trust in your supervisor, you trust in your coworkers, and we can get that all done before the deadline hits.
That's perfect, and you're spot on. That's the kind of culture that we're trying to create here, is definitely one where we all work together to reach the final goal. Okay, so that closes my section. Where I'm going to hand you over to Amanander.
Okay, so my first question is, can you talk about something in your resume that you're most proud of having?
Well, obviously my experience with volunteering for youth. I'm not sure which one I could pick. I learned fitness, mostly from boxing. There's soccer. But I feel like I'm most proud of this initiative that I helped build with my community center and the Toronto libraries that are close to my area, is this philosophy for early children. So we take these philosophical concepts, we break it down, and we make it easily digestible for kids from grade 7 to grade 12, because I feel like it's an important factor that a lot of places kind of overlook. So when they get to start thinking about how they live, about what they eat, how they treat other people, and you start championing good choices for these ideas, and make kids start critically thinking about themselves, of who they are, who other people are, what their purpose in life is. There are some people, there are resistance, but if you just see one, 10% of the kids just get it, just see it, just, and you can see it in their heads and in their faces. It's an incredibly rewarding experience. And so above all that, I think that volunteer experience, teaching kids about philosophy, is one that sticks out as me being most proud of.
Okay, and what made you decide that you want to go for volunteer, especially like you want to teach kids?
Well, growing up in that kind of rough community, I have had a lot of, the thing is, there are older kids from my building, actually, because we live in an apartment high rise, and so a lot of the kids hang out together outside in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I actually wanted to join them, as in like do some illicit drugs, not that hard, but still being them when they went and shoplifted at malls. They said to me, "No, go away." They said, "Listen, schoolboy, you don't belong with us. Go." And so I left. So that made me realize that even though they were, in this kind of poverty cycle, they didn't want me to join them because they found that I have, and I felt, instead of being rejected, I felt that we actually had this strong community that looked out for each other no matter what place we were, no matter how smart we were. It was just these people that were coming together as a community and trying to make it better for all of us.
So you decided to
Well,
kind of mentoring?
Yeah, do it the other way, Do the same thing, but without descending into the drugs, without descending into the crime. I felt like I could do something more positive. Exercise, there's some study work that we do. There's some in the philosophy sessions. We also have how to be social more often, because there are a lot of kids that are shy that want to come out but they have trouble doing so. It's probably just back to my roots where all of this is my motivation for going forward to volunteer.
Okay, good to know. My second question is, what interests you most about this job?
Oh, I love the diversity of it. One, you're a barista, and the next time we're working on motorcycles. I feel like also the close-knit members, especially when you guys have a membership, I get to see the same people almost every day. See them come in again and get to know their faces, get to know their names, get to know their lives. And I feel like that connection, wherever job you're in, but I think this job kind of fosters it more, especially with the community aspect of it, can be very enriching. It can have very good benefits, just past the compensation, past the experience, past the knowledge that you'll get, but this tie, these relationships with other people, which I think is a core important aspect of living in general. So there are a lot of things that kind of facilitate or drive me into working.
So have you ever worked in similar position before, where you're working in different departments?
Well, the closest I can, nothing so drastic as from being a barista to a mechanical advisor, or I'm not sure what you really call it. But at the casino, you would have to go from one pit and the other. And the strange thing about it is that you have a general work culture, but there's a pit culture. So pretty much when you're walking from poker to roulette, it's a completely different atmosphere, a completely different culture. You gotta learn their culture, you gotta learn what's right and what's wrong. They might be more lax on the rules in this pit, but then they're more stringent rules in this pit, especially because money flows differently around.
So you're comfortable working with people?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And so I think you got to be able to take the organization's overarching goals, but then also be aware of the specific kind of behaviors you have to exhibit in Department A and Department B. And I can be aware of those kind of things when I'm working with you guys, or if I had the chance to work with you guys.
Okay, so my third question is, it's a busy night at the shop. A customer comes up to you and said that someone stole all of his tools. So he's getting angry and starts yelling. How would you diffuse the situation and give specific examples if you have ever come across that type of situation before?
Well, the first time I think is not to attribute blame. I think blame is part of the problem. We have to solve the problem. Um, I feel like I have a good emotional intelligence, so I'll be able to kind of relax him. I wouldn't tell him to calm down, but I would let him talk to me about what the problem is. I'll use soothing voices. I'll be very affirmative, and I'll be very attentive. And if he's still upset, then we'll go through the problems or go through the steps that we can solve the problem. And I feel like if we go through the steps, if we find a remedy, we find the steps to get a remedy, that calms most people down. It's like, okay, listen, this happened right now, but we have steps to fix it. We have steps that we are going to do to resolve it. And I feel like that is a very reassuring thing for people who are upset. So the first thing is to kind of calm them down. Without actually telling them to calm down, because I feel like that has a reverse effect sometimes. And then we can work on acting on the problem. So someone stole all his tools. Well, are they like store tools or are they his personal tools?
His personal tools.
So it would be a client.
Yeah. Clients.
Well, then we'd go over the security procedures and the policies, and we'd talk to the member and see what we can do for them. I'm not sure you guys can do much for them, really.
We can actually, we do have security cameras in the building.
Oh yeah, so then
Yeah.
we go over those. We might notify the police depending on how much the tools were. I mean, they can go upwards to $2,000, right? So definitely notify police. We'll see and review the security cameras, and then see if we can recover those tools back.
So in a situation, if your client is not like he's just getting angry and he's not ready to listen to you, so how would you pacify that situation?
Well, you have to understand. You have to have empathy. You got to put yourself in your shoes, and it depends on what they're angry for. So if someone did steal his $2,000 tools, I mean, you just have to say, you just have to feel what they're feeling at the moment and try to imagine what you'd want to hear when you're
As a
feeling that.
client.
Yeah. And I think it would be just steps to remedy the situation, and don't give them false hope, but give them positive thoughts. The tools are gone, yes, but we have security cameras. We're going to look over it, and then I'm going to call the police. Let's see if we can't get those tools back.
So in your past position, have you ever come across this
Well,
type of
all the
situation?
time. I mean, when people are losing thousands of dollars and they're drunk and it's 2 a.m., you have a lot of unruly customers. But, there are stringent policies and procedures in place that you can just always refer to. And it's nice that the organization has your back too, because if they're being unreasonable, and I feel like if they did steal the tools and they start getting very abrasive and hostile and threatening almost, I feel like the organization, if they have my back and saying, listen, that's uncalled for, and I understand your situation, but you can't talk to me like that. And as long as the organization has my back, I feel like I have the power to be able to say that. But at the same time, understand their feelings. I understand that you lost $2,000 this night. And I know that you want to blame the dealers, but the dealers had nothing to do with it. So as a supervisor in that situation, I do step in and say, listen, I understand what you're feeling, but you can't swear at my dealers like that. And usually swearing is like a no tolerance. They're just out. But other less hostile things, you can say, listen, this is your first and final warning. We don't really tolerate that kind of stuff here, so we do try to give them a chance. But
Perfect, because that's what we're looking for. So my next question is, tell me about a time when you went above and beyond expectations. Just give an example.
above and beyond expectations.
Yes.
Well, I feel like in any situation, really, you should go above and beyond expectations. I feel like expectations really are set too low nowadays. But in one instance, when I was volunteering for a soccer team, community soccer team in-house, there was a few of the kids that wanted to know how to do a goal kick as a goalie. So there were about 4 or 5 kids, and they just couldn't get it. They couldn't lift the ball up. And I gave the general instruction, kind of lean back, use your toes. But I stayed, 2 or 3 hours after until everybody could be satisfied with their work and make sure to give constant praise and recognition. And I walked them all home because it was getting kind of late.
All right.
But I feel like if you're doing a volunteer like that and you're trying to champion and be a role model, those are things that should come with it. but it was nowhere near what I was expected to do or what I was told to do.
Perfect. So I'll pass some questions to Philip now.
Alright, perfect, thanks. Last home stretch. So you're going to be doing a lot of different roles, and you already touched on some of the major themes of our place, like diversity, community. Can you give us an example of when you've shown leadership and brought a group of diverse people together?
Oh, well, growing up, we had different communities from different countries because my neighborhood was pretty much low income, so a lot of immigrants come from all different parts of the world. And our school would be just this hodgepodge of different people in different countries. And that's how I got to know a lot of the countries and a lot of the cultures and kind of enrich my experience. But at the same time, they didn't have a lot of money, so they were influenced in the wrong ways or sort of. But going to the community center, we're all equals there. So then we'd have to bring people from different cultures. Some people that would be like dialectically opposed. Like I had in one instance someone from Gaza and the other from Jerusalem. So one was from Israel and one was from Palestine. So I'd have to resolve that conflict and say, hey, listen, we're equals here, and I know that there's problems back home, but he didn't do anything to you. She didn't do anything to you, so let's try to work as a family here. And there'd be these conflicts all the time. There'd be from religious backgrounds, from cultural backgrounds, and even some of the parents would have these kind of xenophobic thoughts that they would, I wouldn't say like directly taught those children that, but it would come in subconscious ways. So you have to kind of recognize that and kind of remedy it. So yeah, in the community center, I would be a team leader, and I would group them all together, make them work together in certain activities. In soccer, I would have to get all these different people from different cultures, and I think soccer is a good thing because it's like a universal game, everyone knows it. So it was easy for me in that regard, but I do have experience, bringing people from different cultures together.
Yeah, lots of leadership qualities there. Moving on to more like of the barista focus, you mentioned you were a barista beforehand. Oh, perfect. So you know how to use an espresso machine and all that sort of thing. That's excellent. Do you have a favorite drink or anything?
I love the double Americano. Actually, my new favorite. I'm not sure if I should say this because it might affect my position here. But don't judge me. There's a green tea frappuccino with a double espresso shot. Tastes like seaweed and it's kind of gross. but it's kind of addicting. Like my taste is in my head.
Yeah, coffee's an acquired taste. any sort of tea or coffee, you gotta get used to it.
But it's great. You guys should try that. And don't hate me afterwards.
I want to hold you accountable. So this one's going to be another situational question. I'm just going to describe a scenario. Just tell us how you'll act. So imagine you're doing the more barista role at the moment, and there's quite a long line of customers, and there's some commotion happening in the more mechanics area.
Okay.
So how would you respond to the both problems at the same time?
It's definitely trying to manage your priorities. If you can ask for help, I would definitely. If it's impossible, I would deal with the more urgent one, which I think is the commotion in the mechanic area. Then I would tell the customers to say, I'm so sorry, excuse me, can you give me a moment? And then make sure that everything's held down in that front, and then go and deal with the problem in the mechanic area. It depends on how dire the situation is. Like if it's really urgent, I feel a little bit of haste is warranted. And it's just on the magnitude of urgency, I feel. And I feel like I can prioritize well under pressure, and being aware that other people are waiting for their coffee, but trying to make them understand that there are more urgent matters to attend to.
All right, and just a quick sort of wrap-up question. This is going to be the real quiz. We're going to give you 30 seconds. Just try to list as many like coffee bar beverages that you can make.
Well, there's a green tea frap, there's a caramel macchiato, mocha chocolate latte, half latte, triple chocolate, caramel fudge, coffee drip, caffeine ball. There's the dark monkey. There's the dark mountain drip. There's the bean beats Super Bean-tastic. Yeah, there's the
I think we have 30 minutes.
There we go.
30 seconds.
Oh,
Yeah.
we got
Good
that
job,
was
good job.
fast and got up to double digits
Yeah.
there. Great. So yeah, thanks so much for answering all of our questions.
Thank you. For,
Do you have any
Questions
for
for
us?
us?
Oh, I do. So what do you think the time management is going to be, or do you have like specific shifts, 6 hours a day for the barista part, specific 6 hours for the mechanic part, or is it like maybe just go back and forth every 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's more going to be the latter because we are putting you in more of a supervisory role.
Right. Okay.
So you will be, looking, just sort of assessing the situation, like you said, like judging the priorities. And yeah, exactly sort of what you said. If you, there will be other people there helping you out. So it's really making sure that everyone's, taking care
Making
of it.
efficient. Like if I'm in the mechanic part, we need somebody at the company.
And yeah, for sure, if you have like advice they ever wanted to start doing the job, I think for sure that's the
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. So I think we're good.
Yes,
That
that's
was-
good.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for your time.
It's
Yeah,
good to
thanks,
have
yeah.
you.
We'll get back to you in about
Yeah.
a week,
Okay. Thank you.
and we'll finish up the
Thank you
review.
so much.
Great
We'll let
job.
you know either way.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your consideration.
Yes, have a great
Take
day.
care.
Take care.